only do you see it in scripture more than once, but you see it said by more than one person. So before Jesus came on the scenes, we had the prophets. And listen to this closely. The prophets would say, "Thus saith the Lord." The prophets would say what? Thus saith the Lord. When the prophets sort of went off the scene, and not because they were bad people, but just to make room for the physical Jesus, when he would say something, guess what he would say? "Verily, verily, I say unto you." The prophet said what? What did Jesus say? I say unto you. When Jesus physically went off the scene, then the apostles came. And the apostles would say, "I have received of the Lord that which I deliver to you." So it is interesting that Jane hit Jesus, what he said, and Matthew, what said and read. She also hit what some of the apostles said. But I want to hit what the Old Testament prophets said. Because all of them said the same thing, because this idea of false teaching and false prophecy was so important. So a good reader, everybody go to Jeremiah chapter 14. Jeremiah chapter 14. And when a good reader gets to the 14th verse, let me see your hand. And just so you'll know a little bit about me, a brief background. This is my 22nd year in ministry, so anything that I say is from the scripture, number one, or personal experience, number two. You see a lot in 22 years. Okay, and hopefully we'll have a little time to answer questions. Ms. Jane and I will be glad to do that. So is everyone in chapter 14 of Jeremiah? Okay, and go to the 14th verse. The 14th verse. Did I see your hand as the reader? Okay, when you get there, you ready? Please read.
Then the Lord said unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name.
Pause. What do the prophets prophesy? Lies. In whose name? Keep going.
I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them thy prophecy. Prophesy unto you a false vision and divination, and a thing of naught, and a deceit of their heart.
Thank you. We'll get to 15 if we get a chance. But the Lord is speaking to who? Jeremiah, who is known as a major prophet. And he's not major because, he had a whole lot of money, a shot caller and all of those types of things. He was major because of the number of, or the amount of what he had written. Okay, there was also minor prophets. So the Lord is speaking to Jeremiah. Jeremiah is to speak to the people. And what is Jeremiah telling the people? That the prophets that are prophesying what? Lies. Nothing new under the sun. So I want to give you three quick things that will help us with this lesson. The first one is the calling from the adversary. The what? Calling from who? The adversary. The calling from the adversary. Now, when you read verse 14, it says, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. Listen to the very next statement. I sent them not. So even today, most of these individuals who are false prophets, they were not sent of God. Watch this. In Romans chapter 10, I think it's verse 15, it says, how can they preach except they are sent? So many, if the Lord didn't send them, then who did? Satan. And Satan is known as our adversary. And listen to this very closely. A lot of people went, they were not sent.